So normally, right, whenever the Cleveland Browns do something that we consider not very smart, what we say is, wow, that's the Cleveland Browns being the Browns. Like, that's just a typical thing. Instead, what the Cleveland Browns are doing here, right, is they're actually smart. And I mean extra smart. Because what they're doing here with the Joe Flacco situation actually benefits them immensely. And yeah, they're playing a little risky, but they're benefiting themselves 1,000 times. So let's go ahead and listen up, and I'm going to give my thoughts and opinions of the whole situation after we hear what Adam Schefter breaks it down with. Let's go ahead and listen up here.
Can't wait for it.
Speaking of it being crazy how the NFL work, Shefty, you dropped a post on X earlier about Joe Flacco reverting back to the practice squad, obviously coming off a 300-yard performance, 3 TDs. Why is that happening? Is it something they have in front office-wise with money? Like, educate us on that.
Yeah, well, a few people have actually texted me since you asked about that question. And basically, these are the rules, Darius. Basically, when you are promoted from the practice squad to the active roster, you revert back to the practice squad that Monday. Now, the Browns could have signed Joe Flacco on a full-time basis to their active roster last week. They didn't do that. So just by rule this morning, Flacco reverts back. Now, what's funny about that is that this guy has been something of a savior in Cleveland the last couple of weeks, and he's lit it up, and he's got this team on a path to where they're going to make the playoffs, and he's looked like, if you'll allow me, elite Joe Flacco.
There we go.
Yep, the boy
right?
Chef D.
Throwing long touchdown passes, he's looked elite. And so he now, as of this morning, even though he was named their starter for the rest of the year, is on their practice squad this morning until they make it a full-time contract, which they haven't yet done. Now, what's interesting is if you're a team.
And that's why it's so smart. Because first off, as he's about to say, if any team can sign him off the practice squad, any team can. He's a practice squad member. He's a free agent pretty much. So any team can sign this guy off the Browns practice squad anytime. And a lot of teams have tried to sign him. But Cleveland, what they're doing here is they're risking it, right? They're saying, hey, listen, we believe Joe wants to be our starting quarterback for the rest of the season. We have confidence that Joe is not going to leave us. So instead of going out there and giving him a, I don't know, whatever contract he wants, and he probably wants like a multi-year contract, or maybe he wants a 1-year contract for a lot of money, they're instead saying, hey, listen, we're going to save this money. We're not going to, bone ourselves on another quarterback, paying a lot of money for a quarterback. And instead, we're going to have him on the practice squad. And he's going to sit there. And then when we need him, we'll put him back on the active roster. And after that, we have to put him back in the practice squad unless we sign him to an active contract. So they're kind of risking it, but they're risking it in the context of saying, like, listen, Joe's not going anywhere. So they're saving themselves money by not signing this guy to an active roster, which in the end is smart because look at Joe's options, right? And Cleveland knows this. Cleveland's sitting there saying, listen, the options Joe has if he leaves us, who was actually offering him a contract? Probably the Chargers. Chargers out of the playoffs, right? He's not going to go to the Chargers and play across the country because keep in mind, this guy is from New Jersey. He lives in New Jersey. So he would have to go across the country here to play, play football away from his family, his friends, all that kind of stuff. So he's not going there. Okay, Arizona's probably offering him a contract. He's not going to Arizona. Arizona's all the way across the country too. So you go down the list of options, and none of them, first off, are playoff teams. And Joe wants to go to the playoffs, right? He's not playing here. He obviously is playing for money, but he's playing because he wants to go to the playoffs. He wants to, do it again. He wants to go win a Super Bowl again. So you're looking at all the options. You're like, wow, Joe's not going anywhere. And he's not going to go to the Ravens. I know the Ravens probably offered him a contract just to get him off the Browns. But he's not going to go be a Lamar Jackson backup or a Tyler Huntley backup. He wants to be a starter. So the only option that he would leave for is if he could be a starting quarterback somewhere, get paid good money, and be on a team that is a playoff team. And the only option is the Browns. So the Browns are like, listen, we're not going to give the guy money when we don't have to. What's the point? His only option is us. So why not just put him on the practice squad and keep elevating him? You're risking nothing. You don't have to give him money. You don't have to go against your cap. You don't have to do anything. And you know what? If it works, it works, right? And that's pretty much how they're looking at this point.
Team that has a quarterback question this morning, and
Steelers.
we can think of a few of them. Oh, there's one. How about the Chargers? How about the Giants? How about the Jets? How about, like, we could go on and on. They're
Non-playoff teams. He's not going to go somewhere that's not a playoff team, and Cleveland knows that.
Jets don't have a problem.
Yeah.
Jets do not have a problem.
They figured it out.
They
got a sweet boy.
They got a good, sweet boy.
Yeah.
You just need to not play him in the first half. That might have been the issue this
there are
entire
a lot of
time.
teams.
Closer.
There are multiple teams that have a quarterback question. If they wanted this morning, they could call Joe Flacco or Joe Flacco's agent and say, hey, we want to sign you onto our active roster, and we'll give you whatever money we're going to give you, and we could sign him. Now, the issue is, I think there have been some calls that have been made. Joe Flacco wants to stay in Cleveland.
Okay, so he can't. Because our understanding of the practice squad just years ago when we were in the league, like any team could just pluck anybody off the practice squad. That is not the case with veterans or vested players.
No. Pat, when you're on a practice squad, you're essentially a free agent. You're on that practice squad, but if another team wants to sign you as their punter and you want to go to that team, you can then do that. So Joe
You can
Flacco,
say no, though, too? I didn't know that was the case.
Yeah, you can say no, of course. Yeah.
Oh, okay,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Because
So again, they're playing a risky thing here, but Cleveland's smart. They know who the options are. They know whoever, he wants to go to, they can easily just, they're not going to be good options. And that's another thing is, let's say he does get a contract offer, I don't know, from the Seahawks, right? Geno Smith, knock on wood, I don't want to see it. But let's say he goes down for the season. Even the Seahawks are on the playoff team. Let's say, okay, the Seahawks. So let's say Seahawks, right? Just let's say they start winning games and they get a little bit higher up there, whatever. Even if that's the case, you know what all Joe has to do and Cleveland has to do? Joe says, hey, Cleveland, the Seahawks just offered me a 1-year contract for like $7 million. And Cleveland's like, okay, we'll give you that contract. And that's all they have to do. So either they just match whatever contract's out there, or he remains on the practice squad and they can assign him up to the active roster whenever they want to do it. I mean, this is actually genius by the Cleveland Browns, because now they get to avoid having to, sign another quarterback, have to avoid the guaranteed monies, have to avoid all this cap hit. And again, maybe it's small in the end. It is small, but it's still dead money. It's still dead money at the end of the day. They're avoiding all this. And with all their quarterback problems, with their contract problems with the first quarterback, as we already know, this is actually a huge W for them. So, I know a lot of people have been giving them crap for this, but ironically enough, you can't really give them crap for this. They're playing a 280 IQ play here and avoiding having to give money to Joe Flacco. So, I say overall wise, W Browns, and I have never said that in my life, and I might have to wash my mouth out with soap, but W Browns at this point. Thank you guys for watching. Peace.